All right, everybody, welcome back again to the KSR YouTube channel and our final video of 2025. That just doesn't even seem possible. Looking back at it, it has been a wild year with lots of things happening, a lot of good, some bad, but we're going to keep moving forward. And like we said in some previous videos, we were going to end the year off with a question and answer video. So if you guys didn't see in the previous videos, we're actually up in North Carolina right now on a little kind of after Christmas vacation. And the plan was to do this outside on the porch during the daytime, but we didn't manage that. And it is now 18 degrees outside, and we're not interested in being outside to ask these questions and answer these questions anymore. So I'm gonna sit down right here by the fireplace where it's nice and warm, and my kids and girlfriend are gonna ask the questions. So hope you guys enjoy that. Let's get to it. All right,
first question.
Oh boy.
What is happening with the Cutlass build and what year is it?
It's a 1978 Oldsmobile Cutlass. It's my first car, if you guys didn't know that. It's one of the reasons why I've hung on to it, because for most people, you know, a G-body isn't the greatest car to do something with, but it's my first car, so we're gonna see it through to its completion. And there's not a lot happening with it, aside from buying parts for it. And basically the plan is to get back on it real hard after I finish the Blazer. So the goal is Blazer starts wrapping up. I'm hoping late spring is the kind of the goal for the Blazer, and then the Cutlass will be kind of in after that.
Where did the name Soccer Mom come from, and when and how did it come about?
All right, so Soccer Mom is a Camaro owned by Kimber Jones, and we have always kind of been a friend group with Will Stevenson, myself, Kimber, CJ. Kimber's son CJ works for me. You guys have probably seen that in some of the videos. So we've got a connection through kind of this car. And when Will kind of stopped racing Outlaw Drag Radial with his third gen Camaro, we were kind of looking for something to do. It was kind of when the LS engines were really starting to get popular, same with Holley EFI. So I think it was back in like 2011, 12-ish, we started building that thing, and it just kind of grew from there. The Soccer Mom name came from an engine that Kimber got as a core from the dealership, because he works at the Chevrolet dealership, arguably one of the best Chevrolet techs that I've ever met, for sure. But he got the engine as a core. It was a 5.3 out of a Suburban, and it had a Soccer Mom sticker on the back window. And so when we were working on the engine, it was, hey, let's go work on the Soccer Mom engine. You guys coming over to work on the Soccer Mom engine tonight? So we were kind of learning the LS world. And then Kimber's Camaro was sitting there, and I had a turbo sitting in my place. And then we got together and bought Holley EFI for the car, put it all together, and then it became, well, why don't we call the car Soccer Mom? Because just it kind of continues the heritage, I guess, of the engine name that we were calling it.
How did you get interested in fabrication?
Believe it or not, that goes all the way back to when I was a kid, and I built model cars, and I thought it was cool to deviate from the way the kits were instructing you to build, and I would bend up little roll cages with plastic tubing, you know, glue them together, and had a couple of model cars that made it into the local hobby shop display case. They weren't very good looking back at them, but you know, for a 12-year-old kid, they were pretty good, I guess. So they got put on display in the hobby shop. And then I got my real car and kind of forgot all about that stuff and started modifying my own car. And I always have liked creating something from something else, you know, whether it's raw material, turning that into a race car, or, you know, building stainless headers, any fabrication has always just been enjoyable to me.
Did you hold on to or trash Ellis George's La Cucaracho horns for the Blazer?
They're still on the shelf with all of his other parts. And if we have the room and also the weight balance is turning out to be okay, we may put them back on. Maybe.
At what age did you start racing?
The first time I ever raced, I was at 17. Snuck out, did it kind of behind my parents' back, I guess. They weren't too thrilled about me going racing, but I kind of wish we had done more, because who knows what I could have done if I had gotten involved with racing sooner. But it was drag racing, it was with my Cutlass, and it ripped off an amazing 19-second pass the first time down the track. That was all she had to. Wide open, that 260 cubic inch Oldsmobile V8, that was all she'd do.
Any plans to take the completed Cutlass to something like
Let's record that. Cutlass.
Oh, it's fine. It'll be fun.
Any plans to take the completed Cutlass to something like the BOP Nationals?
Yep, I'll take that thing anywhere I can race it, as long as I've got time in my schedule, because my schedule is insane with 3 daughters plus girlfriend and her daughter, with different plans we make to go to their different events. We've got one that does horse stuff. We've got 2 that do gymnastics. We've got another one that's in theater. Like, our plans are spread super thin, but if I can get to a race with the Cutlass, I will be there.
Will you be coming out with some Cutlass merch? All 9 old mobile fans would love to buy it.
Yep, there will definitely be some Cutlass merch.
Are there any racing plans coming up that are not drag racing or Cletus events with you behind the wheel?
Yeah, Eddie is picking on me endlessly at the shop about going road racing again. And I want to. In fact, they just raced Sebring this past weekend on a 14-hour, I think it was. Won handily, which was awesome, and with the Miata. But I have the Lexus SC300 road race car. I want to get that back out. We have a Nissan 300ZX road race car that I need to take it back out. I really want to run Daytona with Champ Car. There's also Road Atlanta I'd like to run again. Virginia International Raceway I'd really like to run. Maybe, definitely Sebring again. We won a ton at Sebring, so I'd like to go race that again. There's still the long shot goal of possibly getting in an Arca car somewhere. And I think that's another one of the questions later down. You asked me about it earlier, or what are the plans for putting something together with Arca? And it's basically just writing some giant checks. Like,
Someone wanted to donate $20.
$20 would help for sure. But it's a multiple order of magnitude higher than that to get to the first race. And at least talking to Cletus and what he did with who he raced with and what event that he raced with and insurance policies, and it's a very, very large number. And so there's the thought of possibly building an Arca car, or I don't know, a lot of things that I don't know a ton about because that's not my wheelhouse, like actual professional circle track racing. But I've had a great time doing it with the Crown Vics. Granted, that's a totally different world, but I feel like that my skills have shown that, you know, and this is me talking about myself a little bit, but with some of the people that I've raced around and been able to be competitive with, I think I would at least be okay. Like, you know, a lot of fans get really wound up thinking that we'll jump in and win every race. You know, I see it on Cletus videos that I watch with him racing Arca. They think he should win every race, or you know, if I did an Arca race, I would win every race, but that's just not the case. I mean, these guys that do the racing, the circle track racing professionally, there is another skill set of putting a car on the razor's edge, on slicks, every lap. And there's a reason why the guys in the Cup Series make the big bucks. Those guys are wheelmen and wheelmen, whatever they are. They're awesome. And there's a bunch of them in the Xfinity series too, but yeah, I would like to think that I could at least run, you know, safe in the mid pack of an Arca race, but we'll see.
Money, no object. What is your dream car, engine, transmission setup?
I don't really have a dream car setup. I guess I could kind of say my own, just because, you know, I've got so much history with it. So that's definitely one that I guess off the top of my head would be my favorite. Dream engine. I guess if I were to build something totally one-off, I say one-off, kind of a dream car-ish build might be something like a, you know, full tube chassis, but stock front suspension, maybe C7 Corvette, big block twin turbo, locked up transmission, you know, $500,000 build. But yeah, I'd say that's a dream car there. Something that, you know, would run bottom sixes into the fives. That's maybe a 10-15 year build goal, just with everything else I've got going on with life.
Will you ever build a 650 roll cage for Soccer Mom?
Nope. The question was, what would we ever build a roll cage legal to 650 in the quarter mile for Soccer Mom? I can't say never, because you can never say never, but what would be smarter would be for us to build another Soccer Mom 2.0, keep 1.0 all together, and maybe we make that an 850 car, you know, tone it down a little bit, put a bulletproof engine setup in it, and then build another car with carbon doors, carbon front end, you know, real max effort type deal. And that one would obviously be legal to 6.0 or better if we were to go that route. But the current chassis, I just don't think it makes sense to put the hundreds of hours it takes into tearing it down to rebuild the same car, when we could basically just put the same effort into building another car and keep that car whole. That's kind of what we've talked about, but it's just a time and money thing.
If you had access to a V10 Viper or similar on the Freedom Factory circle track, what would be your top speed?
Yeah, it would need some setup changes for the circle track with like the Comp Coupe or something. I honestly don't think it would be shockingly fast, or, you know, so I think the Rangers were about 75 miles an hour, and they're faster than the Crown Vics. So 75 miles an hour in the Ranger. I haven't been around the track in one of the real fast circle track cars, but I would guess maybe it would hit 100 miles an hour. That's kind of showing my inexperience with, you know, real fast circle track stuff at a small track like the Freedom Factory. That would be flying. What would be faster would be a dedicated circle track car or a sprint car. Way lighter, way bigger tire, way more traction. The Viper has its place on the road course, and at least I think I'm understanding that question right. That if we took, like, say, Lee's Comp Coupe Viper and took it to the Freedom Factory, what would it run? Actually, the Comp Coupe wouldn't be as fast as the black car. The black car's similar, it's within 100 pounds of the green car, but it makes 200 more horsepower than the green car. But anyways, I would guess around 100 miles an hour top speed. But like mid to high 15-second lap times, maybe? Because we run high 17s in the Rangers. Like, I think I went a 17.7 in the Ranger. I don't even know if a 15-second lap time would be possible. Because that's flying when you start picking up that kind of time on a circle track.
A few people have been wondering this. Towards the end of the intro when the logo appears, what is it that you are saying?
I've seen this question a bunch of times, and I have no idea. I was working with Cletus at an event. I think we were tuning Leroy way back in the day at the track. And Chris from Project Prime was there filming to do the intro, because that's who made the intro with the music and the graphics and all the clips and all that other stuff. That's Project Prime did that for me years ago. And he just caught me talking to someone while I was in the computer, and I have no idea what I was saying when I look back on the video there. But that's been asked a bunch of times.
Gearhead Garage Canada is starting a Turbo LS street strip truck or car and would like to be in the 10-second and eventually 8.5. What sensors do you think are a must? He understands oil and boost, but means shock travel, drive shaft speed, and others that help with data for tuning and setup. The second part of that question was, when would separate EGTs be a good time to invest in?
So there's a couple different ways to answer this. So if money is no object, I would put every sensor on it that you could possibly put. Just because the more data you have, the better you can figure a car out, or the quicker you can figure a car out, and the quicker you can see when something goes wrong. EGTs, for an example, they help a little bit with getting the cylinders balanced, I would say, but when it comes to diagnosing when you have a problem in one cylinder, you instantly can see what cylinder that happened in with EGTs. Is that necessary on a 10-second car? No. You'll eventually figure it out. But if you don't have a lot of time in your schedule and you have the budget to go ahead and put EGTs on a car while you're building it, while you're wiring it, go ahead and put them in. Same with shock travel sensors. Although Soccer Mom just recently got a front shock travel, we run a right front sensor because that tire stays on the ground the longest when the front end comes up in the air. And then we run a left rear shock extension or shock travel sensor on Soccer Mom, just because we kind of figure the left rear has the most action the way the tires plant. So we rely off of that data and expect that the right rear is copying it. Now my car will get 4-corner shock sensors just because I want all the data, even though it'll weigh a little tiny bit extra with all the shock sensor data and stuff like that. But I would definitely say drive shaft speed. If we're going in order of importance, I would, after oil pressure, fuel pressure, boost, coolant temperature, obviously. Transmission oil temperature is good for consistency. You want to make sure you keep your transmission temperature within a certain window when you're making passes, because your converter will act differently based on transmission temperature because of the viscosity of the fluid. I would put a drive shaft sensor in before shock sensors. I would probably do EGTs before shock sensors on as a car that I'm planning to progress forward with. G meter is critically important. I would probably put it back in the like, if you got a drive shaft sensor, you should have a G meter in the car. You can learn so much from a G meter. Basically, anytime you make a change that improves the performance of the car, it'll show up in the G meter, and you don't have to guess whether or not the car went faster. If you make a change, even if it spins early track, you can look at what the car is doing later track as far as the G force that it's pulling or G force that it's generating, and you will tell if you actually made an improvement in the car, like how the car does, say, in high gear after a run. You can sync the runs up and look at the G meters compared to each other and see if the change you made was better. That was a long answer.
How did you establish your business?
I started my business back in 2009 and had left the employment of another performance type business and wanted to do my own thing. It ended up, for a lot of years, just thinking I was going to be where I was forever, just because I'm not someone that likes change. I like to set out on a path and keep going down that same path until there's obvious reasons to deviate from that path. And those reasons were presented to me, so I used that as an opportunity to start my own business. And there's been several times where we almost went out of business because owning your own business is tough. Tough, because the work part's the fun part. Building stuff, getting to see it go down a racetrack, super fun. Taxes, paperwork, invoicing, parts ordering, dealing with bad parts, answering the phones all the time because you have to answer the phone to bring in more business. And like the business side of things is absolutely tough, but we've got ourselves established pretty well now. Feel like we're really on a good path forward. And we've got some exciting stuff coming in 2026 that I think is going to make it even better. Next. Oh, we're searching.
Of all the builds you've done, which is your favorite?
Ooh. There's been a few. I don't know if I have a singular favorite. I mean, obviously the original mullet was pretty awesome. That one did the most for the business, I would say, just because of, you know, the views that Cletus brings in when you do a project for him, similar to why we're doing the Blazer project. It brings in a lot of views to our shop and the channel. Trying to think. Like that one was fun. A car we built called the Lawn Dart that's owned by, you know, another one of our customers. Kind of a max effort leaf spring job, and that thing has been silly fast with the chassis that we built for him. Still on leaf springs, still on a 275 drag radial, and it's an all steel body 63 Dodge Dart. And it's cool. Like, it's different and it's fast, and it's the car, the chassis just keep working for, you know, the more power he keeps putting into it. We might be seeing some actual times on that car soon. And then of course there's Soccer Mom. You know, that's one of our favorites. Man, I like them all. In one way or another, I really like all the stuff we work on, or we wouldn't work on. Well, there's a few things we wouldn't work on again, just because, yeah, we won't get into it. We don't want to be negative on the video, so we're gonna skip.
What is something you want to race but haven't?
A trophy truck. I would love to do some off-road truck racing, whether it's the short course stuff, like out around Vegas, they do some of it. The short course 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, you know, jumping and sliding around in the dirt. Yeah, sign me up for that.
What place you want to race but haven't?
I haven't driven at Circuit of the Americas. I'd like to race there. I've raced at Daytona, won at Daytona. That's exciting. Like before the end, I'd love to make some laps at Bathurst over in Australia. That would be awesome. That place looks amazing. And then also maybe drive a V8 supercar or anything, any kind of race car. I like driving any kind of race car. Like some of the most fun that I have had racing has been in the Crown Vics, for one, very cheap race cars, and also our budget endurance road race cars, like the Lexus SC300, the Nissan 300ZX, because the endurance racing stuff, you're just in the car for hours at a time, and it is awesome. So, next question.
What is with the green Camaro in the background in the Dino Blazer videos?
That is my business partner Tad's 68 Camaro, I believe. It's a slow project. He's got a lot of irons in the fire with his life, and eventually, I know he's bought a motor that he's piecing together for it slowly, and I think he was also planning a transmission change. It's a manual transmission car, and we're putting a Holley fuel injection system on it, as well as some other trickery stuff, in which as we wrap up that blue, the blue Camaro, first gen, the 68 Camaro, that one should be, there's a lot of stuff that he saw in that build that he wants to do on his build. So that should be pretty exciting.
How different is your life now with Cletus and everybody a part of it compared to previous?
It's similar in a lot of ways, just multiplied by 100. Like when I got involved with him, all of a sudden the phone rings around the clock. I ended up making my personal cell phone the business only phone and got myself another phone because I was tired of my phone ringing at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night from people calling and asking questions about some of the builds. And obviously all of the Crown Vic racing and the people I've been able to meet through doing that has been awesome. Yeah, it's definitely been cool. And like, you guys wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my participation with him and him pushing me to do a YouTube channel. Like, he's the one that I had a YouTube channel all the way back to 2009 or 10. Just put some play videos on there. You can go way back and see there's some road racing clips on there. There's some old stuff of Will's third gen Camaro outlaw drag radio car. But then in working with Cletus, you know, he's got the entertainment side of motorsports really dialed in. And he said, you're doing a lot of really cool stuff. I think you could build a channel with your technical information, your technical knowledge, and here we are. And I see people that comment that say I talk too much, I'm too technical. That's the way I am. Here we are. I don't know how long this video is so far, but we're just talking things out. And that's what I do. And I've been told on multiple occasions by multiple different people that I am a good teacher. So, at least when it comes to car stuff. And I have a way of explaining things that people can wrap their head around and understand it. So in a lot of ways, that's what I'm trying to bring to more people through YouTube. There's the balance we got to try to find with that, because the more entertaining stuff gets better views, pays better. The more technical stuff is what I'm better at, but doesn't pay as good. So I try to find a balance. You know, there may be some goofy videos that we have a lot of fun with, and there's going to be a majority of probably tech videos because that's just what I do best.
What basic shop infrastructure is best to start with at a home/garage shop? Bang for the buck kind of thing. And is a lift or spending money on tools get you further?
Well, I hate working on the ground, so I would say a lift. I don't think you can go wrong with tools either, but I have gotten spoiled having a lift and have been blessed to have as many as we have now. And I do not want to work on anything ever again without having a lift. It's just so much easier. I mean, oil changes, tire rotations, I want to just run it up in the air and look under the car and see what I can see just for an inspection. I'm using the lift. I'm not laying on a creeper if I can help it. I mean, there are times when a creeper comes in handy when you're trying to see some different things, maybe with the car at ride height or something like that. But for the most part, a lift would be, if you've already got some basic tools, you know, enough to get the job done, you know, your average kind of car mechanic set, the next thing I would do would be to buy a lift, 100%.
All right, we have two very serious questions.
Oh boy, why do I feel like this is a sarcastic question coming? It's hot over here by this fire.
Funny question.
That might even be hotter.
Is the hokey really is the hokey pokey really what it's all about?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's what I've heard.
Corn or flour tortillas?
Flour.
Flour, 100%.
I order them.
I do not like corn tortillas. Ugh.
During sick week, when all the racers show up at your shop, can the public come and hang out, or is it more for the racers?
It's for everybody. If you guys didn't hear the question, it's for our sick week party. Can anybody come? Yeah. Now it's getting to the point where it's getting big enough that you may have to park on another side street and walk over to the shop. But we try to welcome everybody in there. It's just a fun hangout. We enjoy meeting everybody. We enjoy helping as many people as we can. The sick weekers work on their cars. And then there's the other shenanigans that happens, in the parking lot, outside the parking lot. We have a good time. And yes, everybody is welcome.
What made your decision that building race cars is what you wanted to do for a living?
I don't know, honestly. I got bored with college, and probably because I was just taking the wrong classes. I enjoyed working on cars, went to work for a place, muscle cars and some drag racing stuff, and I've always enjoyed continuing to build my knowledge base, and I just enjoy what I do. And there's that old saying of, do something you love for work and it won't ever be a job. I love building race cars. There's still days where it's a job. I love doing YouTube. There's still days when it's a job. Like for some of the last few days of these, doing a video every day, there's days where I'm like, oh, I got to do this, but I don't want to do it. Just because it takes a lot of time and effort to do this stuff. And I do love building race cars. And I guess I just turned it into a job.
What is one thing you do on cars that you wish would be a standard that almost nobody currently does?
I would say that is, the most common thing I can think of is the G activated parachute. And basically it's something that I thought I had done properly in Soccer Mom, but I misguided the computer in what to look for to fire the parachute. So basically what I'm talking about is if the car gets sideways at all, you've got Y-axis G readings, and over a certain G, the parachute could come out. And the better G meter you have, the tighter you can get that number. And there's been a couple of different ways I've done it. Like sometimes I'll make it to where it's like in a Holley advanced table where the slower you go, the more G it takes to fire the chute. And then the faster you go, the less. So like I'm basically trying to get ahead of any sideways movement of the car to automatically fire the parachute, because the parachute can really help straighten the car back out when you get big time sideways. And it's one of those things that you don't ever want to have happen to a customer or yourself when you're building a car, but having that can potentially protect the car. Kind of in the same vein of, we only need roll cages because if we crash. There's also the chassis stability factor that goes into it, but we don't need near the roll cages we put in cars. So that's one of the best safety features I think that I've done is the automatic parachute firing stuff. And now granted I got Soccer Moms out manually, but if it had fired automatically when I wanted it to, it would have come out about a second quicker than when I manually activated it. And so I think that's a great safety feature for anybody to add in. If you have an air activated parachute handle release like a Motion Raceworks one. And then I would also suggest people to, at minimum, do a spring launched parachute. Air launch is even nicer, but the spring launch with the cannon and the spring that you wind up to shoot the parachute out really fast, that helps get the parachute to deploy faster. So the ones that just have the little tiny spring on the pilot pack and they fall out and eventually the parachute works, that one isn't going to save you if you're sideways and about to crash. But a spring launcher or an air launcher greatly increases your chances for that. So G-launched parachutes.
Do you build asphalt circle track cars like late models?
I do not. I never have. I'm sure we could work on them. It's just metal and tubing and bolts and nuts. But the real dedicated knowledge that guys that have been doing that kind of stuff for 20, 30 years, they've got that game covered. And I would be leaning on other people if we ever did do something like that. So,
All right, we have some welding questions.
mm-hmm.
What amperage/voltage do you weld at?
Okay. You want to ask all of them? Or?
Do you pulse? How often do you pulse if you do?
Okay.
Do you go full pedal while pulsing?
Okay.
And why do you pulse weld with your foot pedal as opposed to using the machine settings?
Okay. Those all kind of relate to each other. So I do a little bit of all of it, actually. Sometimes I'll use the machine pulse settings if I'm doing something that's a very consistent weld path, like say, you know, a T-joint or something like that, or maybe exhaust tubing or intake charge piping. I'll use the machine settings for that. I pick on Eddie and CJ about being pulsing princesses when it comes to using the machine settings, but it does it does help. For a lot of roll cage stuff, I will have the welder, like if I'm doing say 1 5/8 085 chromoly, I'll set the amperage to 170, 180, and then I only use as much pulse or as much pedal as I need to get the puddle where I want it. And then I'll pulse, you know, pedal in, filler, pedal out, and just work my way around the tube. Is it recording?
Yep.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I heard it.
Okay. What is your favorite car/dream car?
I mean, I think I mentioned my Cutlass earlier, but my favorite car that I've ridden in is a Ferrari 458 Italia. That thing was sweet, and I would probably like to get one of those. I think that would be pretty cool. You know, years down the road, when they become slightly more affordable. I don't know. They're probably a maintenance nightmare by then, but we'll see.
On a leaf spring vehicle, say there's clearance either way to set up, do you think it matters if the axle is on the top or bottom of the leaves?
I don't really know. I haven't tested the same car both ways. Everything we've set up fast has always been on top, and that's aside from maybe some trucks that end up with it under the rear end. I don't know. Yeah, I think everything we've done with Caltrax, I guess I've done a couple of higher street trucks that had the leaf spring under the rear end, but I think probably above, just because that's what I know works with Soccer Mom, Lawn Dart, Reno's car. Like there's a lot of projects that we've done that have the rear end above the leaf spring, and they've all worked really good.
All right, we have some Blazer questions.
Okay.
What ET class will the chassis be classified for?
We're gonna stick with just the 850 legal roll cage. Not gonna do the funny car cage stuff. I know they have a tendency to allow things to snowball, and you know, cars keep getting faster and faster, but when I talked to him about doing this thing, it was to make it a workhorse that was just go out there and run 850, 950, or the 530 index stuff, just a car that would go out there and get the job done and be reliable, not be dramatic racing it anymore. Hopefully it just hooks and, you know, goes straight, no wheelies, and runs the number. That's basically what we're trying to do with that thing. So there's no need to do that much more chassis than an 850, because I'm not a big fan of funny car cages on the street, honestly, just because there's a lot of stuff you can hit your head on if you were in a crash on the street. So I think, honestly, like sidetrack here, containment seats should be mandatory before funny car cages. I think a properly mounted containment seat will do a better job to protect the driver than funny car cage. Now that's just me, but you look at NASCAR stuff, they crash way more violently than we do in drag racing. They've got high dollar containment seats in those cars. Not one of them has a funny car cage in them. No circle track car has any kind of funny car cage stuff in it. Why would you put the cage closer to the driver? Just so he has more stuff to hit on when you're crashing. Doesn't make sense to me. Anyway.
How heavy do you expect the Blazer to weigh once complete?
I'm hoping it's less than 3,000 pounds. That's kind of what my long shot goal is. We'll have to see how light it gets without getting into the fiberglass doors and front end and all Lexian windows. Because like I said, we want this thing to be reliable and not have a lot of exotic stuff on it. Because it is more a build of an average type build that could be done, you know, by somebody in their home garage. That's kind of what I am trying to tailor the videos around. And I know I've caught some flack about putting small progress in videos, but that's the way it's going to be when you're working on your own car. Sometimes you're going to go out to the shop and you're going to think you're going to get all this stuff done, and you get a tenth of it done. And that's literally just the way working on custom cars is.
Do you have any ideas for the paints?
It's not getting painted. It's going to get a wrap when it's done.
Ooh.
Little spoiler alert there for the watchers.
What are the finished goals for the Blazer? What will the fans notice the most?
I guess we kind of answered that with, you know, the classes the car's going to run with 850, 950, and 530 eighth mile index. The thing I hope they notice the most is it's boring to watch. And it's funny, that kind of goes back to the entertainment side of things versus the more technical side of things. There's no reason why the thing should even hardly do a wheelie to run 850s. So that's my goal for it. It's going to go out there and just be not super dramatic, but it's going to go out there and it's going to be competitive and run the class ET numbers based off of what tune we put in it. It's going to go out there and run those numbers over and over and over and over again.
For all-around street drag, car, mini, or full tub?
I'm a small tire guy, so mini tub should be all you ever need.
Do you use a trim gauge or laser levels for checking square?
A lot of laser levels. We do a bunch of laser level stuff, some digital protractors, and then a lot of tape measurements, checking, you know, squareness, all kinds of stuff whenever we're building a car.
At what point would you switch from leaf springs to a Fourlink on a drag and drive car?
Probably if I was trying to go faster, probably faster than 650s. Because I know some of the stuff we've built on leaf springs can run 650s or better. So, yeah, I really think, probably if I was trying to run 650 in the quarter mile or faster, I would probably build for a Fourlink right from day one.
Why are you able to switch off a high-powered turbo engine without letting the turbo slow down?
We're probably not supposed to, but there's enough oil in the turbo to let it spool down. And once the exhaust energy goes away, I think the turbo shaft is just spinning on that oil. That's a good question that I honestly don't know the answer to. We've done it for years and haven't ever seen a problem caused by doing it. So we just kind of keep doing it.
Does Holley make a plug-and-play harness for the Terminator or Dominator platforms for LS engines?
Yes, there's several different ways you can piece together a kit, or you can buy a kit with the ECU of your choice. Obviously, we're dealers for Holley, so we can set you up with any kind of package you guys want. I prefer to make my own harnesses because if you guys know anything about universal harnesses, they're gonna universally fit nothing. So I like to have my wiring nice and neat and tidy and, you know, built specifically for each vehicle we do. But you can plug and play, buy their kit right out of the box with their, you know, either their LS1 or their LS2 harness. And there's some other later model harnesses too with drive-by-wire stuff and transmission control and all that stuff. And you can use this stuff right out of the box and put a tune in it and go. Or you can take a lot of extra time and do a custom harness that looks a lot nicer and is arguably a much better harness than a universal harness.
For a full build, do you bid the project or charge by the hour plus parts?
We bill by the hour for everything. We try to give a rough estimate, but so far with every single project that we have done, and I mean every single project, there is always a deviation from the original plan. We have always started on one path, and some deviations are small. You know, it might be changing from aluminum wheel tubs to carbon fiber wheel tubs, but that's a deviation that's a few $1,000s by the time you go from aluminum to carbon fiber, really nice wheel tubs. And there's some different, you know, fitting them is similar, but you got to be a lot more picky when it comes to fitting carbon fiber, I feel like. But yeah, we bill by the hour. We might give a rough idea of the build cost for X project, but a lot of the stuff we're doing is one-off custom. And it's not like going to the dealership where they're working on the same cars over and over and over and over and over again, the same, you know, basic make and model, engine, stock combination. So we just bill by the hour. We feel like that's the fairest way to do it. We get paid for the time we put into it, and the people pay only for the time that we work on it.
If you want to build a streetcar that you occasionally take to the drag strip, is a roll gauge worth it if you don't want to run in the nines?
Depends on the car. If you're talking about some rusty bucket that you drug out of the woods that you want to make a hot rod with, I would definitely put some kind of structure in there to protect you in case of a crash. The newer the car gets, the more safe they are. So you don't actually have to put roll cages in them according to NHRA, depending on how new it is. There's a year break. They deem the factory safety features to be enough for the higher speed crashes. But yeah, it's kind of a double-sided question. Yeah.
Are you planning on coming to the Road Atlanta this year for the majors or the mini?
I believe the majors is on our schedule with Lee. I know we're trying to run all of the majors so we can go run the runoffs again in 2026. I can't say again, we qualified for the runoffs with the Viper last year, and Lee got crazy busy at work with a big project. He does real estate, if you guys didn't know that. And he had a subdivision coming together with approval and zoning and all this other stuff that basically fell right on the runoffs week last year, 2025. And so we missed the runoffs last year, and I know he really wants to go run them next year. So hopefully, yes.
How do you choose gear ratios?
Gear ratios are actually fairly simple. I look at what I think my maximum speed is going to be. I look at the tire size, so I get that circumference there. And then I also look at the maximum engine RPM that I want to turn. And if it's going to be an automatic car, I add, say, 5% to it to cover a converter slip. Although you can get some torque converters that get all the way down to 0% slip. Circle D, big shout out. Y'all do some trick stuff in your converters. But yeah, it's just a math function. Mile per hour that I'm that I want the car to go, or I think the car will be able to achieve at a given event. This goes road course racing. We look at past data on different straightaways, and we plan out the gear ratio based on that information, you know, RPM, gear, and the road race stuff. Like with drag racing, super easy. You know what mile per hour you're gonna be at the finish line, approximately. But with a road race car, we literally look at speeds for every gear and plan them out for the whole track. Of maybe we change the gear slightly so that it lets us get to the next corner without having to upshift or downshift, just because it's extra wear and tear on the transmission, driveline, all that other stuff. So, all right, we had to pause for a second and start over because, or not start over, but continue on because my phone was completely full and I had to transfer it to my laptop. We've lost a couple of the kids. They're off in bed already. But we've got one more question, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And lastly, how did you meet Cletus?
Apparently one of my daughters is not British.
Yeah, mate.
It's not British. They don't say mate.
It's Australian.
Oh, okay.
Carry on.
Oh, I met Cletus years ago. 2018, 2017. Whew, I'd have to go back. Way back on the channel. Back when he first put Holley EFI on Leroy. He was working in the shop with Jeremy Formato. I had done a bunch of stuff with Jeremy Formato previous to that with stock ECU tuning, hiring him in to tune cars at my shop, taking cars down to him when I needed like, you know, one car tuned in a rush, I would take it down to him. He saw some of the stuff that I was doing with Holley EFI, thought it was pretty cool. When Cletus put the Holley Dominator system on Leroy way back in the days when he was having problems with the drive-by-wire throttle body tripping codes in the stock ECUs, Holley got him to put, they, you know, helped him get into a Dominator ECU kit for Leroy. And I kind of helped tune it initially and then set up some kind of cool features in it for him. And we did a bunch of stuff together. He actually offered me a job at one point to come down there, but at the time I was in the middle of my divorce. And so I am stuck in the Gainesville area. I won't say stuck in the Gainesville area. I like Gainesville. Got a lot of history in Gainesville. I got the business in Gainesville. But sometimes you wonder how things would have been different had I moved down there to be a part of the crew. I think it would have also been pretty fun. But still done a lot of cool stuff with just the things we've done there at the shop, and still get to go down and obviously be a part of the Crown Vic races. Still do stuff for them a little bit here and there, like, you know, we're doing the Blazer project and maybe some other things we end up doing with or for them in the future, and that'll be that. So, any other questions?
That is it.
Nope.
Are you still British? No smacking your gum, just like I told you you were gonna do. I said you were gonna start smacking your gum on
Get
camera.
off my hand.
Hey, you're on camera in the background.
I know.
They're gonna hear you arguing in the background.
She was sitting on my hand.
Why did you put your hands where she could sit on them?
I didn't.
They were right here and she sat on it.
Okay, let's finish this video. All right, everybody. Well, that's it for our Q&A in 2025. Now we've got one under the table. You stay under there. So, thank you all for watching, subscribing, following along. Huge shout out to all you channel members who submitted a lot of the questions for this Q&A. And then, you know, we took some of the more popular questions from the general Blazer video as well, where I'd asked for people to ask questions. But huge shout out to all of you guys as well. I will be doing more members only content in the future, just little quick goofy stuff around the shop. So that'll be that. And once again, thank you guys again. This will probably be the last video for a couple of days. We're going to take a little bit of a break. After 31 videos in a row, we're ready to take a break for a few days, finish up our vacation up here. We're going to go do some snow skiing and snowboarding tomorrow at Sugar Mountain in North Carolina. And then we've got some other things we're going to do, and then get our 2026 underway and keep kicking butt from there. So thanks again to all you guys watching, subscribing, following along. See you guys in the next one.